Are mermaids real? Folklore that inspired Let Her Scales Fall, a fade to black romantasy. Living in the first century, Pliny was a famous naturalist. Everyone knew he was, and he even called the Roman Emperor Augustus his friend. The fact that such a famous naturalist would write matter of factly about mermaids is interesting. Locals in France were concerned about human like creatures that are covered in fish scales washing up on shore. They called them nereids or sea nymphs, but the description of what they said they were resembles what we would say were mermaids. When the governor became aware, he contacted the emperor, and then in turn, the emperor hit Pliny up and said, "Hey," with his obvious phone back in first century, "can you please come document this?" So he did. Enter his natural history documentation. He describes a bizarre assortment of sea monsters, mermaids, mermen. In this documentation, he proceeds to explain that the corpses of the nereids that are washed up on these French shores, they are exactly like they're shown in the artwork, except that they're covered in scales. Pliny also mentions accounts of villagers that a dying nereid once washed ashore on the coast of Gaul, and when she was dying, she was singing a song of mourning. Nereids were described as gorgeous young women, commonly found playing in the waves of the Mediterranean or getting a tan on rocks. They were also seen as benevolent figures. They helped lost sailors and fishermen. And to give thanks, most of the fishing ports and harbors in ancient Greece had structures dedicated to them. Now, were they seen as dangerous? Not necessarily in the view of who the Nereids were, at least for the females. However, Pliny also talks about a merman who is spotted in the Gulf of Cadiz quite often. This guy would climb up onto the ship decks in the dark of night, and whatever part of the ship he sat on, the ship would start sinking because of his weight. And if he sat too long, the ship would go under. So, back to my original question, are mermaids real? The fact that such a famous naturalist would write so matter of factly about the subject is extremely compelling.